Carla inherited her mother's house on a Tuesday in March. The deed came in a manila envelope from the attorney's office. She signed where she was told to sign, repainted the kitchen by summer, moved her desk into what used to be her mother's sewing room. 14 months later, a man knocked on that same front door holding his own deed to that same house. His name was on it, not hers. Owning a deed does not mean you own the house. That sounds wrong the first time you hear it, because most people use deed and title like they're interchangeable. They're not, and the distance between them is where situations like Carla's happen. Title isn't a piece of paper. You can't fold it, laminate it, or lose it in a filing cabinet, because it isn't a physical thing at all. It's a legal status, the answer to who actually owns a property and what they're allowed to do with it. Ownership isn't one solid block either. Picture it as a bundle of separate rights, tied together like sticks. One stick is the right to sell the property. Another is the right to lease it to someone else. Another is the right to borrow against it or put a lien on it. Another is the right to actually live in it, use it, walk through the front door and call it yours day to day. Hold every stick in that bundle, free and clear, with nobody else able to make a competing claim on any of them, and you're holding what's called fee simple absolute, the strongest form of ownership property law recognizes. The deed is the paper that says the bundle changed hands, not the bundle itself, a record of it. Every deed names two people, a grantor, who's giving up their interest, and a grantee, who's receiving it. Simple enough on paper. A deed only proves a transfer happened. It says nothing about whether the grantor had a clean bundle to hand over in the first place. That gap is the part almost nobody thinks about until it becomes their problem. Somebody can sign and record a deed transferring a house they don't fully own. A forged signature from 30 years back. An heir who was never told about their share of a property. A lien that got filed and never properly released. None of it announces itself just because a new deed shows up at the courthouse. The paper looks completely normal. Notarized, stamped, filed, every line in the right place. Underneath it, there can still be a mess nobody's caught yet, which is exactly the kind of thing a buyer's supposed to catch before money changes hands, not after. Carla's mother had lived in that house for 11 years, paid the taxes on time, kept the deed in a kitchen drawer next to the warranty for the dishwasher, never once thinking there was anything to question. The man at the door wasn't confused, and he wasn't running a scam. He had a deed of his own, recorded, notarized, sitting in the public record since before Carla's mother had ever bought the place. 2 deeds, 2 names, 1 house. Somewhere in the chain of owners stretching back before either of them, something had gone wrong, and the only way to find it now was to go back through every single transfer that house had ever been through, one by one, and see where the paper trail split. What a title search does is answer one question, asked 6 different ways. Does the person selling this actually have the right to sell it? Someone pulls the full chain of deeds on a property, tracing every transfer in order, sometimes back decades. Say a house changed hands 7 times since the 1970s. A real search walks all 7, checking that each transfer was valid before moving to the next. Court records get checked too, for anything that ever touched the property. Divorces, estate disputes, lawsuits between former owners. Bankruptcy filings get checked, because a bankruptcy can pull a property under a court's control in ways a deed alone never shows. Liens get checked. Unpaid contractors, unpaid property taxes, judgments nobody bothered clearing off the books. If the seller's a business instead of a person, state filings get checked too, to confirm whoever signed on the company's behalf was actually allowed to. Somebody did that work on Carla's house, after the fact, with a stranger standing in her doorway instead of a real estate agent standing beside her. It traced back 3 owners before her mother, to a deed filed in the 80s that had never been valid to begin with, a signature that didn't hold up. Nobody had forged it maliciously, as far as anyone could tell. A family transfer had gone through improperly. A technical defect had slipped past whoever handled it at the time, and the paperwork had simply sat there in the public record for decades, looking fine on the surface, waiting for someone to actually pull the whole chain and look. Nobody had. Not when Carla's mother bought the house. Not when the owner before her did either. 3 transactions, 3 chances to catch it, and 3 times the search either didn't happen or didn't happen thoroughly enough. A search only finds what made it into the public record in the first place. Fraud doesn't always leave a trail. Neither does a clerical error from 40 years back. That gap is what title insurance is built to sit inside. It's a policy that protects a buyer if something wrong surfaces later. A bad signature, a missed heir, a lien that should have been released and wasn't. If someone shows up with a competing claim the way that man showed up at Carla's door, title insurance pays for the legal fight to sort it out and compensates the buyer if the claim wins. Not a promise that nothing's wrong. A guarantee that if something is, it doesn't land entirely on the buyer to absorb alone. Carla's mother never bought a policy. Neither had the owner before her. Coverage that would have taken care of this, sitting unused for 3 straight transactions. Once ownership is settled and a search comes back clean, the transfer itself still comes down to which kind of deed gets used. The 3 common types aren't interchangeable. The difference between them is how much the seller is willing to promise about the property's past. A quitclaim deed promises nothing. It transfers whatever interest the grantor happens to have, full ownership, partial ownership, or none at all, with no guarantee attached either way. If it turns out the grantor owned nothing, the grantee has no legal claim against them over it. These show up between family members, in divorce settlements, in situations where both sides already know what they're dealing with and don't need a promise on paper to trust each other. A special warranty deed promises more, but only about the seller's own stretch of ownership. The grantor guarantees no title problems came up while the property was theirs. Anything before that, a lien from 2 owners back, a defect from decades earlier, isn't covered. A promise with an expiration date built in, running backward instead of forward. A general warranty deed promises the most, clear title through the property's entire history, not just the current seller's slice of it. If a defect surfaces from 3 owners ago, the grantor on a general warranty deed is still on the hook for it. This is the deed type most buyers should expect on a standard home purchase, because it puts real weight behind the claim that what's being sold is actually clean. Quitclaim promises nothing. Special warranty promises the recent past. General warranty promises the whole history. Which one shows up on a closing says a lot about how much risk is quietly landing on the buyer, whether anyone at the table bothers to say so or not. Carla got her house back. It took 11 months. A title insurance claim her mother's estate barely qualified for, and a lawyer who spent most of that time untangling a mistake made before Carla was even born. 2 deeds, 1 house, and the older one had never been good in the first place. Somebody, at some point, should have pulled her property's full chain of title before her mother ever signed anything. The same document, a preliminary title report, lays out line by line, owner by owner, decades before closing day.